And I think people put too much behind them. But the teacher can fill them out, the parents can fill them out, and then with the older children, they can actually fill them out themselves. The children in this study ranged up to about age 11. So that's the BASC. One of the things that I wanted to do with this study was to actually have the parents do a daily rating of their own behavior. So at the end of the day, mom and dad would sit down and say, how do you think we implemented this program today? Just kind of a general, again, 0 to 100%. 0, we didn't do it at all. 100, we followed it completely. With the idea being that, if they're also rating the child's behavior on a daily basis, to see whether or not, when the parents kind of backed off the program, if they would start to see a resurfacing of the behavior. And when they were on top of the program, if they, again, saw the decrease in behaviors. But it was very difficult to get parents to do that. If anybody has any ideas about that, let me know. The other idea was to maybe even have the children, if they were old enough, to rate their parents' implementation, because this program is explained to the children before it's implemented, and so I think it would be interesting to see how the child themselves sees their parents' implementation of the program. But again, these are things that we might look at down the road. So again, that's the basic results of the study. I mean, we're still trying to tweak it and add to it and improve it, and to get some more families coming on board. Toby?
Yeah, is it possible to go back 2 slides? I just want to make sure that I understood. There we go. 2 slides. Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. So using a basket, which was a measure of the hyperactivity, aggression, and inattention by the parents' ratings, you're saying for the group that actually implemented the caregiver skills program, what you found was, if I'm understanding correctly, that there was a statistical significant difference at 6-month period. Those who implemented and were consistent, it was statistically significant, and those who didn't,
They stay the same.
it stayed the same.
Right.
Which is what's represented by the T-score, saying that 50% or 50 would be an average, and then if you're at 65, it would be significant. If you're at 70, so yeah.
Right. With this group who didn't implement it, their scores were either 65 is considered at risk, 73, 74 are considered clinically significant, and so those scores basically stayed in those ranges. Where with the group who implemented and stuck with it, their perception, so therefore their scores went from those at-risk, clinically significant ranges down to what's considered the normal range. So basically the disorder went away, based on, the behavior rating scale, based on the DSM-4 ratings, based on, the parents' daily rating of the behavior for those targeted behaviors. Any other questions on the study? It's pretty simple.
I'm just wondering, I know this is going to be like saying, I totally accept your premise that it is obviously a non-biological, but don't you think you have a contaminated sample if you have people that dropped out and then individuals that stayed with it in cognitive dissonance playing a role in terms of their own ratings of their children's behavior?
Right. Well, that's part of the reason we want to get data from the school. Yeah, and one of the main things initially for the study was just to show people if they stick with the program, you can see significant results. Just to give it some credence. And the other thing that I do often now when I go around and talk to the parents is I bring some of the parents with me who have done the program and who are having great successes, because what I found is I can give them all my stats and stuff like that, but when another parent's here who's had a child similar to what they're dealing with, and they've gone through the program and now they have this remarkable transformation, that has much more power than me speaking for an hour. So there's clearly a lot of, confounds with this in terms of comparison, but one of the main things was just to show that it can work. It can, decrease the behaviors that you're concerned about. So.
What David Stein has said in the past, or in one of his books, Unraveling the ADHD Fiasco, is that the program works 100% of the time if the parents work the program. If the parents don't work the program, it won't work. And I'm a school psychologist, and I've used that program, and it works.
Right.
It has rescued kids from psychiatric labeling and drugging, where they've been in it for years. Nothing has worked. They use this program, they catch it, they understand that they are willing, determined to change the behavior, and it works.
Right. Yeah, the key is to get more of the parents to buy into that. And that's why I sometimes look for help from other people to try to do that. Because certainly there are some families who aren't interested in making this kind of transformation. Betsy.
Have you had a chance to do any follow-up to see how, if they stick with it?
Well, after the 6 months, we are still collecting some data. I mean, the goal was to try to get these families to continue to report for up to 5 years so that we can show that, it'll last. It's not just a...
6 months after they stopped seeing you? Or
This is 6 months after they stopped. Yeah. One of the other things, and I know I got to wrap up, that sometimes I deal with, and I feel I shouldn't have to be put in this position, but we often have families in the school where it's, people feel they're either deciding between medicating the child or having the child, exposed to physical child abuse, because, the child's behavior at home is such that we know that the kid's getting beaten, but not enough there to get the child take out in the home, or because there's such a focus on keeping the families together that nothing's being done. And so some people then would recommend, maybe we should, refer the child for medication so that they're not getting that physical abuse at home. So unfortunately, sometimes that's a position that people are put into, and I struggle with that. I think that, at that point, the child shouldn't be with the parents, but that's not always the belief out there. But thank you. I know I got to go.
Good start.